The man stuck his head into the refrigerator, eagerly licking the crushed ice. He looked like he was really enjoying it. Then he gathered the crushed ice together, greedily sucking it into his mouth and even licking the ice residue on the shelves. In the end, the man buried his head in the refrigerator, his expression one of pure pleasure. But then he started crying right inside the fridge. Soon, though, he wiped away his tears and struggled to pull his head out of the refrigerator. As a burglar who had broken into the house, he had been trapped in this luxurious mansion for 2 whole days and nights. If he didn't find a way out, he might not starve, but he would surely die of thirst. However, getting out was not an easy task. The mansion was on the 60th floor, and the entire house was equipped with soundproof and blast-resistant glass. Except for the locked front door, there was no other way out. The man felt around the front door and discovered that it was made entirely of wood. He quickly ran his fingers over the wooden door, searching for the thinnest part, and began to chisel away furiously with a small knife. If he could just make a hole, he could unlock the door from the outside. Soon, he successfully chiseled away the outer shell of the door, revealing the wooden core inside. He hurried to work faster. However, as time passed, the malfunctioning central air conditioning grew hotter and hotter. Beads of sweat slid down the back of his neck, and the moisture he had taken in from the refrigerator was quickly depleted. He was simply too thirsty to bear it any longer, so he began to search the entire house for water. But ever since the alarm had been triggered, the water supply had been cut off, and not a drop came out of any faucet, including the toilet. Looking at the unflushable toilet, the man hesitated for a long time but still couldn't muster the courage to drink from it. He crawled into the plant area and dug up the automatic sprinkler pipes, but there was still not a single drop of water. Finally, the man turned his attention to the fish tank in the living room. He stuck his finger into the tank, brought it to his mouth, and took a lick, but he immediately spat it out. With no other choice, the man had to grit his teeth and continue chiseling at the door. Suddenly, the tip of his knife hit something. He quickly felt around with his fingers, and it wasn't the texture of wood. The man was devastated to discover that the door was lined with thick steel plates. He collapsed onto the coffee table, feeling utterly helpless. He tried to call his accomplices for help using the intercom, but they had already given up on him. He shouted for help all night long, but there was no response. Early in the morning, the man picked up the mansion's phone to call the police, but there was no sound. He tried to turn on the computer, only to find that it was just a decorative piece. The man had no choice but to sit back down at the table. At that moment, the ventilation duct above his head caught his attention. After a moment of contemplation, he suddenly came up with a bold idea.